Is it like loading or something?
Yeah, I think we should be good here.
Yeah. Sometimes it took a second when we used to do it, so it should be good.
Yeah, so it looks like we're live. I can't really see you. So
I
I can
can
see you
pop over
here.
there. Let me see if I can look.
Yeah, let's make sure it's all working before we start chatting because we already did this. This is our second time.
That's all right. Yeah, there we are. I see us.
Okay, perfect. Cool. So I'm going to stay on Facebook, I think, because that way I can actually see what people are writing and all
That's
of
a good
these
idea.
things. Yeah. Um, Even though I can't see you, that kind of sucks. Oh no, there you are. Okay. I'm confused.
Yeah, that's all right. If you don't watch on the Facebook one, because it's gonna be delayed, so it'll
Yes,
throw
it
you
is
off.
delayed. It is throwing me off. Okay, cool. I thought it was like me, but it is a Facebook issue.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are live. We are ready to go. Hello, you guys. Welcome to another episode of the Beauty Business Babes podcast. This is our second time actually recording this.
That's all right.
I feel like I jinxed myself because I think before we even started the last one, I was like, I think that happened to you and Stephanie Pierce. I
Yeah.
remember talking to you about this,
Yeah,
and I was
yeah.
like, oh, it's never happened to me. And sure enough, that was the episode that it happened on.
That's all right. That's all right. Technical issues happen with all of us.
For
I
sure.
can attest to that for sure.
So, a lot of people are really excited about this live because they wanted to ask you questions about your company, about websites, and
Mhm.
all of those good things. But before we dive in, I wanted you to do a brief introduction of who you are, what you're doing, and all of that good stuff.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for first off, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. If anybody has questions, obviously we'll be happy to answer those. My name is Grant Conscious. For those that don't know me, I've actually been in the sunless industry for now. This will be year 11. Back in 2011, I moved to California. Mike Jolie was a good friend of mine, and I got started with him in the industry and worked there for about 4 years and helped kind of build the brand. Obviously, they've come a long way since I left back in about 2015, but that's how I kind of cut my teeth in the industry, I should say. So I got to see, I talked to a lot of people that were starting out. Obviously, the industry has grown a lot since then, but I got to see both sides of it, from the businesses to to a manufacturer, hear all the stories, answer all the questions, talk with a lot of amazing people. That's how we met, obviously. Um, so that was kind of cool. And then once I left, I wanted to still be involved in the industry somehow. So that's where I started Happy Tans, which was a website, is a website builder. We focus on that, but we also have a podcast. So basically, once I left, I knew there was a need for that. After speaking with so many people, I saw that they were good artists, but they didn't know the business side of it. So that was really the focus, and still is, of Happy Tans. It's really mostly business related, because plenty of people teach the techniques and all that and have products, but we wanted to focus on the business side, because that was from what I saw, at least, that was the big difference in people that were successful and not. And that's across any business, obviously, but specifically in the tanning industry, because a lot of people get started, they had never run a business, so they're trying to figure out all these things. And as you know, I think you went through that. It's like, there's like a million things at once. So we focus on the business side, and the websites is kind of where we find our, make the most, take the most of our time and effort to help people with.
Which I think is great too, because what I'm seeing a lot in the industry is like you mentioned earlier, technique, right? Everyone's teaching technique. They want to teach the technical aspect of this. But what makes you stand out and what makes you so different and your company different is that you went at this from a different angle and you asked yourself, like, what do spray tanning artists need? Like, what can I support them in that I'm actually good at and that I enjoy? So I
Mhm.
love the fact that you are coming in at this from like a marketing perspective and angle, because we do need that so badly.
Yeah.
I don't think enough people talk about it, or even going into the business, I don't think enough people realize how important that piece is. And
Mhm.
truly, I believe it's what has helped me um, become successful in this industry. It's through marketing. And so I wanted to ask you a couple of questions as far as Happy Tans, like what you guys do and how you guys help current clients right now. I have a lot of people who are on the Beauty Business Space Facebook group who are brand new into the industry. So I'm curious to know if you have any specific tips for them when they first start.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest mistakes I see people make is that when they get into it and start, they really treat it as it's a hobby and not a business. And somebody told me long ago, and I didn't actually take this advice then, but it's come a long way. Is that treat your business or your everything the way you want it to be, not how it is. So a lot of people get into it; it's a hobby. Even if they don't intend for it to become a huge thing, at least treat it like a business. Set the processes, the cancellation policies, make sure you have a presence online, whether it's social media, website. I mean, I recommend all those things, but a lot of people don't treat themselves like a business. They just treat it like this is a hobby. I'm going to buy this stuff because, the barrier to entry, the cost to get into it is so low, which is a great thing, but that also kind of sets you up to, you don't have much invested into it, right? If you're an esthetician, you got to go to school for a year, or you have to do all these hours, whatever it is, right? You have so much skin in the game. But with tanning, you really don't. You can order something and have it tomorrow, thanks to Amazon, and start a business. And a lot of people don't treat it like a business. So I would get out in front of that stuff. And, we get a lot of people that are just starting out that haven't considered a website, or say, I don't have, I don't want to spend that money. But, we try to reposition it and say, it's not, a cost. It is an investment. If you have a website that actually works for you as a tool, then it's something that's very, very useful. A lot of people just create free websites and they're great. They look good, or they might be like an online brochure, but they're not actually generating any business or helping them kind of stand out in the crowd. So we try to focus on that and really give people the opportunity to present themselves as they should be, very professional and as a business. That's kind of sets them apart from other people.
I really loved what you said about the long-term vision. I think a lot of people go into this business because, like you said, it is so inexpensive. And actually, that's the reason why I got into it in the very beginning. I was like, well, I could try this and see if I like it. Thankfully, I loved it. So I was willing to invest more time, energy, and money. But the one thing that I did get in the very beginning was a website.
Mhm.
And I did that because I was a mobile artist and I wanted to make sure people like trusted me before I walked into their home.
Mhm.
So, a question that I hear and see a lot in this group is, should I have a website? Because there are these booking systems that allow them to just have their services displayed on there. But can you
Mhm.
speak a little bit more into that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. The scheduling system is definitely something I would have. And they do, a lot of them present it as like, you don't just have a scheduling system, you also get a website. The way that they're built, they're not customizable. There's not much you can do. The way they're actually technically built from that standpoint, as far as the SEO goes, they're not as likely to get found as an actual website that you have at your domain, like happytans.com or spraytanclass.com. So I think everybody should have a website. Obviously, we obviously service and sell those, but I'm a huge proponent for them because they can change people's businesses if it's done properly. And one of the things that we see is that people, like you say, they might start out and not do it, and then they're down the road considering it, and then at that point, I'm like, you've lost all this time. So a lot of people are like, should I get one and when? I'm like, you should have had one yesterday. So get it up sooner the better. It takes time to start to work for you. So it's not something you're going to throw up and get an immediate ROI from, unless you do some type of paid advertising, which is a completely different topic. But if you have a website, you want to get it up and running, and really it's a credibility factor. If subconsciously we judge everything based on how it looks and how we get that initial like feel of it. If you pull up a website that's nice, you automatically elevate that brand in your mind, whether you know it or not. So seeing a free website that says built by Wix proudly, and it looks like, a third grader put it together, isn't the same as, a professionally designed website, no matter where you get it from. So subconsciously, obviously people are judging that. And that credibility factor goes farther, right? You can charge more for your services. People
Mhm.
just kind of treat you differently as a business, and so many other factors. We've all done that. We judge a website or a business based on their web presence, whether it's their social media inconsistency, blurry pictures, terrible looking logo that was made in the 80s, whatever it is, website. We judge that subconsciously. So there's so many things that come into play. But I recommend everybody to have a website 100%. And it's a great way to offload work, because you can have a lot of information on there that you don't have to type out to people every single day. Pre and post tan care, what to do before my first appointment, and so many other things you can include on there as well. It's kind of, and it's I always say this, it's the hub of everything, right? Online or offline, everything points back to your website. Your business card has your website, your Facebook page links to it, Instagram links to it, right? Everything points back there. And on the website, you can really control the narrative of what you do, right? You can move stuff around, have stuff from front and center when it's important. Maybe there's a sale, maybe it's a seasonal thing or something like that. So that really allows you to kind of be in control of everything.
Yeah, I'm trying to put myself into somebody's shoes that's just starting, that doesn't want to invest in a website, and the reasons why they wouldn't. And I think the number one reason would be the cost, I'm assuming. Would you agree with that?
Yep.
With spray tanning, it's so interesting because, we have our in-person courses with a full-on package for a little over 2,000. And that's basically what I paid when I first started. And I've looked at other businesses, and to start up, it's like 30 grand, 60 grand, 90 grand, like a couple hundred grand or more. And so when you go into this and you're serious, you have to remember that, like you mentioned earlier, the investment is an investment. The cost is a cost.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to the website, me personally, like, I love to see what I'm getting myself into. I like to see the salon. I like to see the person. I like to read a little bit about like the background of it. And one thing that you mentioned also is, the fact that you can actually increase your prices.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a website and people actually trust you and you build your reputation, you can increase your prices. So the first person that comes to mind is Jimmy Coco.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, better than I do because you know him well, but like, he has an incredible following. He charges how much? I don't know if you know.
250, 300, something like that. I don't know. It could be different now. Yeah, something like that. 350. I'm not sure.
Yeah, but it is a lot more than, the average spray tanning artist.
Yeah.
And I think that comes along with marketing and just positioning himself as the celebrity spray tanning artist.
Absolutely.
So speaking into this a little bit more and diving in a little bit deeper to positioning themselves, like anybody that's listening right now, as the expert in their area, are there any specific tips that you would recommend for them as far as their website goes? Like, what should they have on their website to be able to separate themselves from the competition around them?
Yeah, sure. I think, we really lay that out when somebody signs up for us. We literally tell you everything you need and you just fill in the blanks essentially, and we take it from there. But we have kind of laid out what you should absolutely have, obviously about information and a picture of yourself. I think it's a very intimate service. We want to make sure that we have that on there, and spend some money, have a photo shoot, find somebody you can trade, right? Find a photographer, trade some services, whatever you want to do to barter that initially, if you don't want to invest in photos, but those photos can be used a lot and go a long way. Obviously, the about page services, you want to have prices. You don't want to hide that. People want to know what they're going to spend, even if it's high, even if you think it's a lot. You still want to have that and be transparent. Like I mentioned earlier, pre and post tan care, all that stuff, FAQs, they have a lot of questions. Still a lot of people, and I'm sure any spray tan artist that's out there knows this, there's still people that haven't had a spray tan. So they have those questions. And if you don't have the answers, then somebody else does. So having that information on your website, front and center and available is extremely important. And obviously, contact information, always make sure that's present, whatever way you want to be contacted, in email form, phone number, text message, whatever that is, make sure that's present. But I think a lot of people miss the boat with really showing that they're the expert, putting videos up on their website and different kind of things to make sure that that's how people see other people as leaders. You didn't like just magically become who you are. You just like started putting out content. People started listening and following. And then eventually it's like, oh, Kelly's like the person to listen to about this, or Grant's the person, or whoever it is. Right. So you just kind of have to start putting those, making those wheels turn and putting that stuff together. But still people aren't, investing in that. Even if it's a video where you film yourself, phones are good enough to do that now. But that's a great way to stand out. People still aren't doing that.
That is actually what I said on my last podcast episode. I think it was like last week. Video marketing, you guys. It is seriously what has helped my business grow so much. And it's funny, I didn't talk about this before, but like Grant and I met a very long time ago when I first started. And I remember vividly speaking to him and being like, hey, I'd call Sholee, I got my package, I got on my solution, whatever. And I would call, and he was helping with customer service at that point. And I would ask him so many questions and he was so patient with me.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for that.
Yeah,
Thank you for
never.
supporting me because it's been really interesting to be a part of the Sunless movement. And just as much as I do, like how much it's grown over the last, even just the 7 years that, I've
Yeah,
been
it's
in the
crazy.
industry.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
been great.
absolutely exploded. Yeah, it's, it's one of those things where you're still kind of getting in on the ground floor. I feel like it's going to continue to grow, but it was, you definitely, I remember speaking to you. There's people that stand out in your mind, but I knew that you were obviously interested in learning and wanted to go further in the industry. So it was great to help support that.
Yeah, I appreciate it so much. And it's been awesome to see you grow too and really positioning yourself in a way where your business is actually really making change in these
Mhm.
sunless tanners' lives. Because I mean, I've said it so many times before, like marketing is just like the magic piece of the puzzle that everyone should know and needs to know. And it really does start with a website,
Yeah,
and social media. Like those are the two main components. So
absolutely.
going into a little bit about maybe current sunless artists right now who
Mhm.
have a website. Say they made it on Wix, they did it themselves. They're not super happy with it. Maybe it's not converting as many clients as they would like.
Mhm.
Can we talk a little bit about how you support those types of clients of yours?
Yeah, sure. We get that all the time. Actually, somebody just signed up yesterday and was emailing me. They were on Wix, and we welcome those people. Lots of times, when you have somebody that has an existing website and that it's been out there for a while, as far as the SEO goes, it's a good thing because that the domain. So the domain would be happytans.com. Kind of builds up some equity in Google. So a brand new domain that you purchase, it's going to take some time to actually rank or for Google to trust it. They typically call that like the sandbox period of about 3 to 6 months, where that's hard to rank that website, and that's Google's way to combat spam. But if you have an existing website and it's been online, we have a lot of people that switch to us, and then we're able to just build it on our platform and implement the SEO stuff that we build into the site, and immediately see people go from page 2 to page 1 almost overnight. I mean, the case, it depends on your competition and all these factors, but those people that come to us is a great situation because you can sign up, you can have us build the site for you. You send us your existing site and say, I want to keep all these things, but change these things. And we'll actually redesign it, kind of brand it specifically for your business, give it a nice, professional touch, but also, leverage all that time that you spent by reusing information, and obviously the equity kind of in sense of SEO and Google. I mean, then we can leverage that to help them rank quicker.
Yeah. And one thing I just want to clarify for those of you guys who are like scratching your head right now and you're like, what the hell is SEO?
Yeah.
It's search engine optimization. And essentially, what that allows you to do is hopefully organically get on the first page
Yeah.
of Google, which is like
Yeah.
the goal for everybody. So if you currently aren't on the first page of Google, when you type in spray tans in your area, for example, that is a place that you want to be because obviously you don't have to pay for that if it's done correctly and SEO supports that growth.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
you could just pay for ads, but nobody wants to pay for ads. You want
Yeah.
to get it for free, right?
Yeah, there's kind of, and I'll touch on three different things. So you mentioned advertising is one thing. Google My Business is another thing. Of those that don't know that, if you search for something on Google or on your phone and it comes up in the little map, the map pack that's like with the little red pointers on it, that is Google Business. And then the organic results come in lower, and consistently over time, the maps and the organic get a much higher click through than the ads do. So, the benefit is, there's benefits to both ads. You can immediately turn on the faucet and get the leads coming in, but as soon as you cut it off, it's done. Whereas on the organic side, once you're up there, you've kind of built that and you're established. We don't see much movement in that. And we keep up with as SEO and the algorithm updates actually daily, we keep up with all that stuff to make sure it's implemented. So the organic route long term is so much better because it's just like an evergreen constant flow. And I was checking out our good friend Stephanie in DC there, and she, in her area, there's about 300 searches per month for spray tans, and she ranks one in Google excuse me, maps as well as organically. So she gets in front of 300 new people every single month, and
Mhm.
that she's paying whatever $29 a month for the website to be number one. And obviously she's done a lot of work, has a ton of reviews, and that helps, but she's there and she rates, she doesn't have to pay for ads. And that ad would cost her about $6 per click to get somebody to
Right.
come to her. So, that really stands out. And those are a couple of things that people don't consider. The long-term goal here is to get something that works for you and is kind of an evergreen thing where it's always going to be there. You won't see much fluctuation there. And the spray tan near me or any of the near me searches are just continuing to grow as people continue to find, that it works to find places near them. And obviously Google's algorithm will continue to the geographic push to make sure that they're providing the best result for the person's search.
Right. So if you guys are watching this or listening to this and you're like, why am I not getting clients?
Yeah.
It could be because you're not on the first page of Google. Because I think about myself, like, what do I use in order to look for client or for services? And typically it's Google and Yelp, not so much anymore, but yes, that was a part of it at one
Yeah.
point. And so it's something that you really need to think about and implement now sooner than later, because it does take some time. Sometimes it took me a couple months to get on the first page when I first started my business. So I know that Grant can help you with that, whether you don't have a website right now and you want to build one with him, or if you do have a website, then you can convert over to work with Happy Tans and they can help you with SEO and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So a couple of things for websites that I would love to share with you guys, a couple of tips that has helped me grow my business, my salon business, is having a form on the website where you're capturing the name and the email addresses of anybody who is coming through on your website. Because if they leave your website, maybe they never come back to the website again, but at least if you have their email, you can pop in their email once in a while and say, hey, like, I'm here, here are some offers that we have, things of this nature. And that's really something that I feel like is a missed opportunity that Sunless artists overlook a lot. Are there any other tips like that you could share, Grant?
Well, I mean, if to take that a step further, I think you're specifically talking about email marketing, which
Yes.
is extremely powerful. And that would be a conversation for another day, but people are absolutely missing out on that. Like you said, not only just a contact form, but like, what else can I give them to get, for them to give me their information? What else can I do on here? Make sure that you're maybe giving away 5 tips for, more hydrated skin, less dry skin, whatever it is. Come up with something to give them in exchange for that, so you get their contact information, and hopefully add them to some type of CRM or email platform like a MailChimp or MailerLite. There's tons of them out there, but I think also something that I see that's missed and we make sure to include is that at all times there should be some type of action that people can take. So we always have a book now like tab on the side or on mobile, or a call button, there, or the book now button across the top, because you want to make it easier for people, not harder. And we always see people missing the boat on that. Like, I go to a site, I can find all this information, but how do I even book or ask questions? It's almost impossible to do. We want to make sure that's easy. We want to remove as much friction as possible, because people don't have the time, right? They're going to bounce off and go somewhere else, honestly. So you want to make sure that you're not the person that's pushing them away. You want to make sure it's as easy as possible. And a lot of people are still maybe overcomplicating that, or having these large images where it takes so long to scroll that it's like, I'm done, I'm going to the next place, or broken links, broken forms, whatever it may be, right? There's so many things that come into play there.
Yeah, it's funny because I'm actually doing a landing page right now for the new salon that I'm opening, and it's very simple. Like, I just did all the copy this morning. I did the book now button. And what I found was, like, I just want things to be super simple. I am diagnosed ADD. So like, I know for sure that when I'm on a phone or something like that and something doesn't work or it takes too long, like, I'm overwhelmed, I get annoyed, and I just like move on with my life. Right. So I don't want that to happen with other people. So on this one page, we basically have all the things that you mentioned, like, how to contact us, about us, the services that we offer. But what I did a little bit differently this time that you just mentioned is the call to action. And I did it in like 3 or 4 different places on this one website. So as people are scrolling, they have the opportunity to click on the book now button at like 4 different places. So they're not scrolling everywhere.
And that's great. It's, a lot of people think it's too much or you're asking to whatever, but it works. I mean, people like, you want to make it easier for people. I've watched, recordings of people on websites where you can actually have this software, and some of my clients in the consulting business, we hook it up to, and you'll watch people like going around, and you can see where they're trying to press on the website and all these different places. And like,
Yeah.
there's so many things that are missed, but yeah, making sure that's present when somebody comes to a site. There's really like three things that you want to answer. Is like, what do you have to offer? How's it going to make my life better? And how do I get it? Right. So if you can
Yeah.
answer those questions quickly, what do you have to offer? Spray tanning, you're going to look beautiful in 15 minutes, whatever.
Yeah.
Schedule now, right? 1, 2, 3, done right there, versus like some magical phrase with a video and a picture, and then I have to scroll and look around and there's no way to contact you. That's very frustrating for somebody. So they're going to immediately leave and go elsewhere.
For sure. So I have to ask this question, and it's so random, but do
Yeah,
you
go
get
for it.
spray tans?
Not very often.
Okay, I had to ask. I was like, because you look a little bit, I mean, tanner than I do right now, but yeah, you look good.
Well, I'm Greek, so that helps.
There you go. That is the answer. You tan very easily, I'm sure.
Yeah, I try to run in the sun too during the day, so that helps as well. Yeah.
There you go. Good,
Yeah.
good,
I
good.
get them on occasion. I used to when my wife and I would take pictures, because she would get one and then I'd be like the ghost. Even though I had a tan, you'd still look like a ghost, right? So yeah,
Right. Yeah, I forced my boyfriend to do it as well. And now he loves it at the very beginning. So he's from New York, he's from the Bronx, like whatever, macho guy, whatever. And at first he was like, absolutely not. Those were his exact words. And I don't know how, somehow I conned him into doing it. And we actually did a contouring video for TikTok, and that video got like over 1 million views.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. So I think ever since then, it kind of like made his head a little bit big. So he's like, can I get a spray tan? Just don't tell anyone. Awesome. So I wanted to end this with one last question. Mm-hmm. And that is, what are your predictions for 2022 in terms of marketing?
Yeah, I think, you mentioned earlier too, video. I think it's obviously grown. It's been popular for quite some time, but it's going to continue to do that. The personalization of that, whatever it is, whether it's email marketing or your website or videos, making sure that things are customized towards people. They want to they want it to speak to them. But I think that, the video side of things is going to continue to be the go-to, and the way you kind of set yourself apart, whether it's on social media or your website. People want to consume stuff that way more so than reading it. So I think you're going to continue to see that growing, on that side of things. And then maybe not so much in a marketing thing, but just to help with business owners is automating, because there's so many tools now that tie things together that can save you time. Other things you can do to alleviate that, whether it's online booking or mass email text, or SMS text that send out specials, and all these different tools, right? Automate as much of that stuff as possible so you can save time in your business. But ultimately with marketing, I think it's just going to, continue to grow into the video. Everything's going to be like that. And then as more personalized for the specific people that you're speaking to, versus just kind of a broad range.
Absolutely. And one thing that I've seen you do, I feel like you network with a lot of people. Yeah. You collaborate with a lot of people, because you mentioned to me the last time we spoke that you're not very present on Instagram. Is that right?
Correct.
So it's funny to me how like you've been able to, because everyone thinks like, I have to be on Instagram. I have to do reels. I have to dance and do all these things. You don't have to do all that. Like you have to find what works for you. And I feel like for you, you're very good at relationship building. And that's something that I look up to you for, because like I haven't done a great job at that. I'm like all over the place with that particular part of my business and marketing strategy. But I love the fact that you've been able to like partner up with people, collaborate with people. Can you speak a little bit about that and how how that's affected your business?
Yeah, I mean, it's huge. The relationships I made back at Shoali, like with somebody like yourself, obviously we had a connection there, but ultimately it comes to me, from me at least personally, I think it's like from a place of caring about the people that you're talking to. And where even I still remember so many people from back when I was at Show that maybe they're with Happy Tans, maybe not, but those relationships are there. People come back years later. Hey, Grant, remember me? I want to sign up, support you now. So that's great. And because like when, I was at Show I would answer all those questions for you. And that's just
Yeah.
a genuine place of caring for people. And I think networking, a lot of people miss the step by like, what's in it for me? Like, what am I going to get out of it versus looking at what can I provide to somebody that in turn is going to be valuable. And, maybe sometimes you don't get anything back and it doesn't pan out. That happens. But at the end of the day, if you're helping and serving other people, it's only going to do you good. I think that's, something that's absolutely true. And you mentioned too about the, not being on Instagram and stuff like that. Somebody on my team is kind of taking that over. But one thing I tell people is like to make sure that you are present where you want to be. Like you said,
Mhm.
find your thing. And where are your ideal clients? If they're, younger, maybe they're on TikTok. If they're older, maybe they're on Facebook, right? Know who those people are so that you make sure that you invest the energy into the right places. If I'm on Facebook trying to get, younger people, you're more than likely not going to find them versus a TikTok or Instagram. So people spend too much time on all those things when they might need to focus in. And you don't have to master it all at once. Just take
Mhm.
little baby steps, do one thing at a time, maximize that, move on to the next thing, or set up your website, move on to the next thing, whatever it is. So that's something a lot of people exhaust themselves and they're overwhelmed. And we see people that won't sign up for a site because I don't know what to do, right? So we put together a free course, 7 days of creating your first website, whether it's with us or somebody else. Here, literally step by step, here's what you need to do. So people get overwhelmed, but they just need to take a step back and figure out where they should be and where they want to be.
Right. I always recommend just starting off with like one or two aspects of social
Yeah.
media marketing or marketing in general, and just really focusing on that until you get good at it. And making sure it's in alignment with what you actually like to do, because there's so many people that I talk to that are like, I don't want to do reels, or like, I don't want to get, do a dance on reels and like all those trending songs and all these things. And you
Yeah.
don't have to. That's like the beauty of it. You don't have to. You can
Yeah.
figure out what actually works for you, and you have to do the work in order to figure out like what that is, right? Like you have to test
Mhm.
things out, you have to try it out, you have to understand who your ideal client is to see if that's actually where they're at as well. So I love that. Thank you so much for
Sure.
sharing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Another thing that you said was the mindset when it comes to collaborating. So when I first started, I was very ignorant to a lot of things,
Mhm.
and I'm still not perfect. I'll never be perfect. But one thing that I think I made a mistake on was having the mindset of like, what can I get out of this situation? Like going into networking events, what can I get out of this situation? And I think I share that mindset with a lot of people,
Mhm.
especially newbies, because we just don't know any better, right?
Yeah.
And as soon as you start realizing like you make authentic relationships throughout your journey, you start realizing like people do want to support you. They want to like be a part of what you're doing as long as they see the vision for it. And when I shifted my mindset, and actually I learned this from a mentor of mine, when I shifted my mindset from what can I get from this to what can I give, I started making content on YouTube. I started my podcast. I started my Instagram. Everything blew up. I mean, it took a while, right? Like it took a
Sure.
while to blow up, but it did eventually do well because I was giving free content all the time. If you guys look at my old YouTube videos, you can see like I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I
Yeah.
look ridiculous, but I keep it up because, we get the views and whatnot. So
Yeah.
I was giving, giving, giving. And I realized like that's the energy that I have to be in order to also receive, and receive in a way that feels good. Cause I know a lot of
Yeah.
people feel weird about like receiving whatever, whether it's sales or clients or whatever.
Yeah.
But that has been one of the biggest learning lessons for me is like give, 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 and be open to receiving without expectation.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. And even with our podcast, I've never monetized that outside of people that sign up for the websites, but we don't really have any tie to that. So, we started this will be year 6 at the end of the year. So, 6 years, all those hours put into that, it costs money to produce every single episode, but all that was just put out with, the hope that it would help people. And in turn, some people probably did sign up and hear about us, but at the end of the day, it was just my way to give back to all these people that were struggling and thinking that it wasn't working or they weren't doing something right. I was like, listen to all these people talking about their stories. listen to how they got through it, like yourself and Stephanie, all these other amazing artists that we've had on. So that was a way to give back. And, how else can you help people? I think it's anytime you're helping other people, at the end of the day, you're going to win, right? What's the famous quote? If you help enough people get what they want, you'll get what you want, whatever, Zig Ziglar or somebody.
Yeah. No, it's so right. It's so right. I'm all about energy. And like, that is 100% what I live in now. So I can attest to that. I'm going to pull up Facebook and see if we have any questions here. So Anna says, hi, Grant and Kelly. Hello, you guys. Hi, Lacey. Hi, Anna. Hi, Steph. All right. So Lacey says, interested in setting up a website. Do you offer the option to have a link to a shop or online store? If so, is it through a particular shop site like Square?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we do. Everybody, mainly everybody that's on our system has a link to a store. We have some people on Shopify that incurs another cost. It's a little bit more robust, but most people on Square, Vagaro, you can have a store on there, so you can absolutely do that. We recommend to have that. We'll actually build out the page to kind of look like a shop, and when they click buy, it'll go over to the Square or Vagaro or whatever system that you use. And we're also working, this is kind of forward thinking, though, we're working on building an e-commerce aspect into our sites. It's just a slow process to make sure it can integrate with everything, but we hope to have that out as soon as possible. We're going to be testing that as soon as it's ready. So that's just another way to help out and provide that and build it all into one kind of system. But yeah, you can absolutely do that. And to speak to the way that it works, if you don't mind, I can talk about that. People can sign up. We have two different options: the do it yourself, where you sign up immediately, you get access to your site, and there's videos that walk you through like each step. And there's also general videos for questions that you have. And our support team's always there. But most people, I'd say about 95+% now, are doing the done for you service, where there's an additional setup fee. But when you sign up that way, we gather some information from you about your business. And then we'll actually, account managers assigned to your website, and they'll walk you through the process. Like, hey, fill out this. This is everything we need. And then you do that, and then our team builds it out. And if we have everything, like if you send us everything today, you could have a website by tomorrow or the next day. We turn them around within a couple of days. And for anybody that's ever built a site themselves, I'm sure that it took you weeks, if not longer, because there's a process. Any platform you get on, there's a learning curve. It doesn't matter how easy they say it is. But most people go that route. And I tell people to go that route because we'll set it up properly. We'll actually custom design it for you. And it saves you so much time. It's just worth it.
You guys, I am pretty good at so when I was little, I used to make HTML websites, just like Britney Spears, Beanie Babies, whatever. So I'm like pretty good when it comes to like websites and stuff. But I did not want to take this part of my business on in the beginning because I wanted it to look professional. And I didn't know what the hell I was doing. Like, I didn't know about branding. I didn't know about a lot of things. So you don't know what you don't know is something that I love 100%. To say.
Yeah, 100%.
So if you want a really professional looking website and you want Grant to help you and his team to help you with that, head on over to happytans.com/Kelly. And that way he knows that you guys are from this group, from the podcast, from the YouTube channel, if you guys are watching there. And if you have any questions, where can they reach you at, Grant?
Yeah, they can reach out. Grant@happytans.com is my email. You can also text my business line. It's 980-250-5340. Again, 980-250-5340. If you want to text me, call me, whatever, I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. But email works, Grant@happytans.com. Like you said, go through the link, your link, happytans.com/Kelly. That way we can thank Kelly for you coming over. And if anybody has any questions, I don't care how, if you think it's a weird question, a stupid question, whatever, just reach out. We're here to help. I don't care if you're just starting out or been in the industry for a decade. It doesn't matter. We can definitely help out.
Yeah. And I can attest to Grant being there 100%. Like I told you guys earlier, I'm not kidding. I had so many questions and it wasn't just one phone call. It was like multiple phone calls throughout a long period of time when I first started, because I didn't know anything. So Grant, again, I want to thank you so much for taking care of me and taking care of our community. Thank you so much. And I will see you guys on the next episode of the Beauty Business Babes podcast. Thank you guys.
Awesome. Thank you, Kelly.
Mm-hmm.